Um, Today we are continuing our discussion of the world becoming more in contact with each other through these explorations, certainly bringing the old world and the new world together. But today we're going to focus on how that's going to impact world religions that have long existed. So we've got continuities in the fact that Christianity and Islam and Buddhism and Hinduism will still be there, but that these religions will experience some change as new parts of the world come in contact with each other, or these religions are coming in contact with other populations and other cultures. First we're going to talk about Islam, then we'll get into Christianity. And we'll spend most of our time talking about those two faiths. So I think I'll do Islam before lunch, then we'll take a break, come back and handle Christianity as we get back. So from 1450 to 1750, we know that probably the greatest change in the religion of Islam is going to be the conquest of the Ottoman Empire of the Byzantine Empire. And if we remember the Byzantine Empire, by the time we get to the 1400s, the Byzantine Empire had already lost a great amount of its territory to the spread of Islam. Like, the Byzantine Empire used to control North Africa, and they used to control the Middle East, right? They've already long lost that to the Islamic caliphates. But now, by the 1400s, all of the Byzantine Empire will fall to the Ottoman Empire. And so you will now see the Ottoman Empire expand into Europe, into southeastern Europe. Does anybody know by what geographic term we can refer to this peninsula as? The Balkan Peninsula. Very good. You can call it southeastern Europe if you want. You can call it the Balkan Peninsula. So the countries today of Greece, the countries of the former Yugoslavia, Romania to some extent, they're going to come in contact with the expansion of the Ottoman Empire. And obviously the Ottoman Empire, they're Muslims. So you're going to have a Christian world come in contact with an Islamic world. And so what we'll see when the Ottoman Empire makes its way up into Byzantine lands is some sharing and some adoptions of things that are Byzantine into the Ottoman world. We see that clearly in the architecture. Now, you guys have all seen this before. This is the Hagia Sophia, right? This was built by during the reign of Emperor Justinian, 1,000 years before this time, right? And this was the biggest Christian church in the world. Well, when Constantinople falls to the Ottomans and becomes the city of Istanbul, this church is not going to be razed. Again, there's that word, R-A-Z-E, to raise. To raise with an S means to build up. To raise with a Z means to tear down. This is not going to be razed. It's not going to be destroyed by the Ottomans. They're just going to convert it into a mosque. So, for example, these 4 towers, these minarets, will be erected around this now mosque. But they're going to obviously keep the building there because they recognize it for what it is. But even more importantly, when the Ottomans start building their own buildings, take a look at how they look. A lot like the Hagia Sophia did. A lot like the other architecture in Constantinople, featuring domes. Okay? So you see a lot of this domed architecture in the Byzantine world, and now we're going to see that on new mosque construction in Istanbul. This is a mosque called, anybody recognize this one? It's very similar to the Hagia Sophia. This is the Blue Mosque. And we'll take a question back here. Domes all around, but we see them, I think, most evident in many of the biggest ones in religious architecture. And why domes? Well, here's what domes allow for you. Domes allow you to have a massive interior space without having a whole lot of columns that need to hold up the ceiling. All right? Domes provide you with the ability to create a massive interior space. This is the interior of that Blue Mosque that we just looked at. You'll also see within the artwork and within the architecture of the now Ottoman world, the adoption of mosaic artwork, like using tiles, stone tiles and glass tiles, to create images and artwork. Now, notice we're not seeing like traditional Byzantine mosaics that would maybe be depicting in various tiles, like images of Christianity like Jesus and such. You don't see that. You're going to see tessellations and geometric figures and the calligraphy that you can kind of recognize within here in the Arabic script. So we're going to see, but that will still be featuring the mosaic artwork that was prominent in the Byzantine world. Yes, ma'am.
Is this like stained glass, or is it just like glass tiles?
No, those are going to be stone tiles, actually.
Okay.
Yes.
So they both adopt the Byzantine architecture and their art?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's actually also religious texts.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What does it say specifically?
It says like Allahu, a past like Allah, so like God.
Excellent. Can you read this? Okay.
Which means like mosque.
Okay, excellent. So this is what we're seeing in the Ottoman world. Ottoman Sultan Mehmed II, M-E-H-M-E-D, Mehmed II, will actually adopt the titles once Constantinople falls. He will adopt the titles not only of being the Ottoman Sultan, but also being the Caesar of Rome, Mehmed II. To claim legitimacy not only over his Muslim people, but also over his non-Muslim subjects, his Christian subjects. So this is a blending of these two worlds. Think of that word syncretism, please. We will see a new religion develop in northern India called Sikhism, S-I-K-H-I-S-M. This is going to develop in northern India in the Indian state of Punjab, P-U-N-J-A-B. You don't need to know that, but if you hear it, go for it.
You spell it in S-H?
S-I-K-H. Sikhism, S-I-K-H-I-S-M. This is going to develop during the early years of the Mughal Dynasty, and it's going to combine ideas that we see within Islam, like a monotheistic belief in like one God entity, with some of the inclusiveness that we see in Hinduism. So it's a new religion, and it's distinct from Islam, and it's distinct from Hinduism. But it adopts some ideas from each, because where is Sikhism attempting to spread in a community that has Muslim and Hindu people? Right? So we have a new faith on the scenes.
Combine Islamism with what?
With some of the inclusiveness of Hinduism. Mughal, yes ma'am?
Do they still follow the caste system?
No, no. The Mughal emperor, a guy named Akbar, he's one of a couple names that I wanted you guys to know about the Mughals, Akbar or Akbar the Great. We think of him as like the greatest Mughal emperor today because he was so forward-thinking. Remember, he was not the guy that wanted to squash out the Muslims or anything like that. Squash out the Hindus in the Mughal dynasty. Obviously, the Mughals are Muslim. Akbar himself attempted to create a new religion. Akbar attempted to create a new religion. And he's going to call that Dini Ilahi. Now, you've never heard of this because it didn't last much past Akbar. But it's just a sign of how a political leader might attempt to use religion to gain legitimacy and to solidify his rule. And this religion that Akbar would create is going to adopt ideas from not only Islam and Hinduism, which are the most predominant in the Mughal Empire, but also Christianity and Zoroastrianism, trying to bring together all of these disparate faiths so he can better rule his state. Now, did he really believe that this was the be-all, end-all faith, or did he believe that having this syncretic faith could help him rule a diverse population better? Probably the latter. Probably the latter. But it's just an idea of what can happen to religion as it spreads and comes in contact with new people. Here also we're going to look at this painting here from the Mughal dynasty, and we're going to see in their artwork some combining of different artistic styles, where Persian and Hindu styles will come in contact with Muslim art styles to make a distinct art form that we would see in the Mughal Empire. For example, What do we see in this painting that you would not see in traditional Islamic art? What's that?
Depiction of people.
Yeah, all these people. All these people which were not traditionally depicted in Islamic art. Well, the Mughals are Islamic. But you see within Mughal art a lot of people, because the Mughals are in India. And guess what the Indians have depicted for centuries in their artwork? People, the human form. Now, we still see notes of like the tessellations and the geographic figures and everything within, but certainly a blending of those societies. We are going to see during this time period as well, if you remember when we talked about the Ottoman Empire and the Safavid Empire next door to each other, we'll talk on a later date about those two empires coming in conflict with each other, experiencing warfare against each other. But their contact and their conflict with each other is going to increase that division between the Sunni and the Shiite sects of Islam. All right? So that's another change we're going to see. Sunni and Shia already existed prior to 1450. But that division between them, the animosity between them, is going to grow during this time period. And we also need to mention the Sufis of Islam. S-U-F-I. Sufism. S-U-F-I. Sufism, or the Sufis, are a mystical branch of Islam. Now, I think this word popped up on that practice AP exam you guys took, and some of you are like, I don't know what mystics are, or mystical is. A mystic is an individual who feels that he, on his own, can gain a closer relationship to God through whatever actions. So Islamic mystics fall into this branch of Islam called Sufism, or the Sufis. Yes?
Can we compare that to Buddhists who tried to achieve nirvana, like closer?
Sure. I would think so. So Sufism is going to play a large part in the spreading of Islam throughout this period. It's a mystical branch of Islam that attempts to bring an individual believer closer to God through various actions. And you guys see in this photo here, you got some guy kind of dancing. He is representative of a group of, sorry, I'm losing my slide here, a group of Sufis within the Islamic world. These are in Turkey. You guys might have heard of the phrase Whirling Dervish before. The Whirling Dervishes, I'm going to show you for a brief moment what this would look like. And these guys are going to come in, and I don't know if you're going to be able to see this on my screen, but these guys are going to come in and eventually disrobe, and it's said to be a meditation through movement. So you guys can see their heads are moving. It almost appears as if they're asleep, right? And they just twirl around. And for them, in their belief system, this is allowing them, much like another religious believer might sit down in quiet meditation and prayer, for them this is achieving more closeness with God.
How did you not get this in my
I am not sure I could handle this. And this is going to go on in the YouTube video for another 5 or 6 minutes here. Right?
Really?
Yeah. All right. So anyway, these Sufis, in many cases, will be wandering. They'll be homeless. They will not have a final destination. And they will wander and beg from town to town, in a lot of cases facing a lot of persecution. But some people might take them in. And then they start to talk about their belief system, and they start to share these ideas. And the Sufis, these wandering Sufis, are going to have a large part to play in the spread of Islam out of the Middle East into further reaches, making their way into sub-Saharan Africa, also being a large part of the spread of Islam into Indonesia, and also into Southeast Asia. All right, questions, comments, concerns? Yes, ma'am.
So the mystics, they believe in more like actions, like physical actions that they're doing, that rather than doing good deeds, like actions. Or
It's a more of a personal connection. I'm not saying I'm no expert on this, that there are no good deeds done, but this is a
like a physical
actions to personally bring yourself closer. Yes. Yeah.
Can you say that like draws a little bit into Christianity? Because that's kind of like sort of an idea that Christians have, like to achieve your own heaven through your relationships with God through prayer and stuff.
That is going to be a nice break as we, she's talking about like individuals within Christianity achieving their own heaven with a relationship, their own personal relationship to God. That is a great place to stop. So we're going to go to lunch and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about the Protestant Reformation. Because those that are, like what is your religious background?
I'm Roman Catholic.
You are Roman Catholic. Very interesting. Okay, we will talk about this in a moment.